The wait is almost over. We are just over 24 hours away from kickoff for your Seattle Seahawks as they begin the preseason taking on the Minnesota Vikings. And so with that, we want to give you a look at the latest winners and losers from Seahawks Training Camp heading into tomorrow night's matchup. So let's get started at the quarterback position. Drew Lock. Much was made about Drew Lock last offseason as he was competing for the starting quarterback job with Geno Smith, and things did not go great, if we're going to be frank, when it comes to Drew Lock last offseason. But he's put in the work. He was very impressive in what he was able to do in the mock game last weekend, and he was facing the first-team defense with the second-team offense on his end. Still was able to go 16 of 22, 178 yards and a touchdown. And I know some of you out there are hopeful that Drew Lock could one day be the long-term starter for the Seattle Seahawks. I'm not going to try to sell you that. At the end of the day, Drew Lock, his job is pretty simple. Just be a competent backup quarterback. We didn't see him at all last year, and based on the way he played in the preseason last year, I would have been nervous if I would have thrown him out there if, God forbid, something would have happened to Geno Smith. But so far to this point, Drew Lock appears to be headed in the right direction. And if that circumstance were to pop up, if they needed Drew Lock, he looks like he's capable to lead this offense a year in to this system. More from Seahawks Wire as far as what he was able to do in that mock game. As suspected, Smith in the starting offense looked sharp against the second-string defense, but Lock in the second-team offense did do damage against the starting defense. In the end, it was a solid day for Seahawks signal callers. Drew Lock did not play at all last season, as we mentioned. And you go back to 2021 and 6 games played. He had 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, completion percentage a little over 60%. That was up from when he was a full-time starter for 2020 with a completion percentage around 57.3%. Less than 3,000 yards, had 16 touchdowns, 15 picks. You go back to the first season he started in Denver, completion percentage around 64%, over 1,000 yards with 7 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. So we'll see. I think Drew Lock is good enough to be your backup, but I have questions as far as him being a starter. But nonetheless, do you believe in Drew Lock? Do you think he's the right guy for that number 2 quarterback role? If you think he is, type B for buy. If you don't think he is, type S for sell. This is our pinned comment today. Weigh in. Tell us what you think in the comment section. B for buy, S for sell. Number 2 on our winners is Devon Witherspoon. And I know that he turned some people off by the way things started in training camp with the holdout. But ever since he arrived, he really just pushed that aside and has really stepped up and been competitive. And he hasn't been given any handouts. There was this thought by some folks out there that, hey, Devon Witherspoon, being the number 5 overall pick, right away should step in and be the opposite outside corner to Rick Woolen. But what we've seen with how well Mike Jackson has played throughout this offseason, that Devon Witherspoon has slid in at the nickel spot, getting first-team reps. Kobe Bryant, who was expected to be that starting nickel, he's had a sprained toe, so part of that is due to injury. And we've seen Kobe Bryant get some minutes at the safety spot as a backup safety there. But nonetheless, Devon Witherspoon just getting on the football field, being a good teammate, putting the contract stuff behind him, that's a step in the right direction as far as I'm concerned. Competition makes everybody better. If Mike Jackson's playing well and Devon Witherspoon's playing well, then have them both on the football field, right? I mean, rotational pieces, whatever it may be. The main thing is that Devon Witherspoon and Mike Jackson both look good, and that's a step in the right direction for both guys to get playing time. He even got the attention of Quandre Diggs recently. Listen to this, what Diggs had to say as far as Witherspoon goes. You see him before practice, listen to music, doing his thing. We need that young juice, that young energy. We love how that rubs off on some of the older guys. What are the Seahawks getting from Devon Witherspoon? He was fantastic his final year at Illinois. There's a reason why he was that number 5 overall pick, and you can see the numbers here. Completion percentage allowed, less than 35%. Only 200 yards allowed through the air, no touchdowns, 14 pass breakups, and 3 interceptions from Devon Witherspoon. Next on the list is Zach Charbonnet. Zach Charbonnet dealt with the shoulder injury, and there was questions about how he would recover from that, as traditionally speaking, it's pretty scary when you talk about a long-term issue with the shoulder. But so far, Zach Charbonnet has been able to put that behind him. He's been a full go in practice, a quick recovery. Got back on the football field before Kenneth Walker did, and they both got injured around the same time. And for Zach Charbonnet, one thing that I like from what I've seen is that he's been effective in the passing game as well. If you get a running back that can do multiple things, then that's only going to make you better and more useful to get those touches. And in a loaded backfield that not only includes him and Walker and Kenny McIntosh and company, there is certainly a place for Zach Charbonnet to be a big impact. And with Kenneth Walker's status not great for Thursday, with him being on the injury report, here's a huge opportunity for Zach Charbonnet to prove himself on a huge stage, likely getting the start on Thursday night. The numbers from Zach Charbonnet when he was in college at UCLA, close to 1,400 yards rushing, 7 yards per carry, just outstanding, 14 touchdowns in 10 games played last year. Stacey Ross of Seattle Sports 710 made a very interesting point that I want to bring to your attention on Charbonnet. Charbonnet returned to the field Thursday. It's great news for Seattle after somewhat sounding report that he'd been out indefinitely with a shoulder injury, a tone Carroll joked about when he spoke with reporters after practice. So that relief, you can see, is a huge step for the Seahawks to have Charbonnet back. We got more winners to get to in a moment, but your chance to tell us who's been a winner to you so far in Seahawks training camp. Give me a name that comes to mind, whether it's somebody we've talked about or haven't talked about today. Plenty of options out there. Weigh in. Tell us what you think in the comments section. A winner for Seahawks training camp so far to this point. BetUS, the exclusive sportsbook partner of Chat Sports, is the presenting sponsor of today's show, and we are so excited to have them on board for another season here on Seahawks Today. And you can place your bets, whether it's on your Seattle Seahawks, other National Football League action, maybe you want to bet on the Seattle Mariners or the Seattle Storm, whatever it may be. You can go to chatsports.com/bet, and we are offering a 125% deposit bonus. When you use the promo code Seahawks125, you will get that deposit bonus. Put $100 down, get $125 to spend for free. The odds for Thursday, the Seahawks coming in as a 2.5-point favorite, over under at 35. Here's your chance to get rich, kids. BetUS is your place. Chatsports.com/bet. Promo code Seahawks125. Get your bets in now. Lay it on the line for your Seattle Seahawks. Promo code Seahawks125 at chatsports.com/bet. Evan Brown is next on our list of winners, and Evan Brown came in with the expectation right away that he would slide into that starting center role with Austin Blythe retired now. And Evan Brown, it's interesting because this is a guy that has had a little bit of success throughout his career, dating back to Detroit and such, but we haven't seen him just look phenomenal over the top. And the assumption we mentioned when he signed was, okay, he would be the starter, but then with the way that Oluwatimi played, now there was some real competition for that center position. Not to mention there's also the flexibility of Evan Brown could potentially play guard as well. But so far to this point, Evan Brown has caught the attention of Pete Carroll, doing what he needs to do, at least for the moment, to be the starting center. Listen to this. This is from Bob Kadada from Seattle Times saying this. Pete Carroll says if the season started today, Evan Brown would be the starting center. Brown worked with starters again today, also at the mock game on Friday. So we'll show you a picture here in just a second. This is, you can see Evan Brown along with the rest of the starting offensive line getting minutes there with Pete Carroll on that front. One more winner to get to on our list of winners is Tre Brown. And Tre Brown did not see a ton of action last year as he was coming back from injury, and we saw the Seahawks obviously use Tariq Woolen a lot. Kobe Bryant played a significant role, Mike Jackson. There was a lot of different options the Seahawks had to go with at that corner position last year. Ultimately, Sidney Jones, who isn't bad, ended up on the outside, right? And so there just wasn't enough playing time to go around for everybody. So a very competitive corner room. That's the case again, especially when you bring in Devon Witherspoon. But Tre Brown is answering the call, taking advantage of this opportunity, especially with the injuries that we've talked about that have gone on in that cornerback room, and Devon Witherspoon not being available at the beginning with his holdout. Tre Brown has done what he needed to do to show that he deserves some playing time, potentially to compete for a starting role. More from Brady Henderson of ESPN. Tre Brown had a good day, jumped out on route in one-on-one for an interception, nearly had an identical pick later, but Cody Thompson broke it up. Brown remains the number one left corner ahead of top pick Devon Witherspoon. Seattle's cornerback room is as talented and deep as it's been in years. Pete Carroll had this to say about Tre Brown. Both he and Mike, referred to Mike Jackson, are really competing hard, and they're not looking over their shoulder. They're just going to take these jobs, and they're going to try to hold on to them and fight to keep them. And they're doing the kind of stuff guys do when they need to make that happen. So if you've got Pete Carroll's attention, you're obviously doing something right. The numbers are somewhat limited from Tre Brown of what we've seen in his career, but the most we can point to is his rookie season in 2021 when he started a few games, played in 5, had 10 tackles, 1 pass breakup that rookie season for the third-year corner out of Oklahoma. So what about Tre Brown? Looks like he's got a starting job right now. Is he going to hold on to one? Will he start for the Seahawks? Weigh in. Tell us what you think in the comments section. Y for yes, N for no. Will the Seahawks start Tre Brown in a starting role? Y for yes, N for no. Let us know in the comments section below. Will Tre Brown get a starting role or not? Daryl Taylor is the first loser as we turn our attention to the losers list. And there was a belief that Daryl Taylor would walk in right away and be a starting outside linebacker opposite of Uchenna Nwosu. But the first unofficial depth chart that was released by the Seahawks PR staff had Daryl Taylor passed up by Boye Mafe. Not to mention, you also had the shoulder injury from Daryl Taylor. Look, we saw Daryl Taylor look good at times last year. 9.5 sacks is no joke. But everything else wasn't that great from Daryl Taylor, in particular defending the run. Pete Carroll, according to Bridget Condon of the NFL Network, had this to say about Daryl Taylor. Daryl Taylor sprained his shoulder. It's not requiring surgery, but he felt way better today than he did yesterday. So with Daryl Taylor landing on the losers list here, not only is it not looking good competing for playing time, losing to a younger player in Boye Mafe, but also this injury as well. It's not been ideal for Daryl Taylor at this point in time. And as far as Boye Mafe goes, of what Pete Carroll has seen from him, let's bring that up to you and show you now what Pete Carroll had to say. He's putting together some really good stuff in terms of his pass rush. He's getting a game of his own style and the things that he's worked on. He's a good run defender, and he's really tough and runs really well, so he's doing everything well right now. Notice the run defender part, something we don't say about Daryl Taylor. So significant as far as that goes. Dee Eskridge lands on our losers list, and just very unfortunate news last week to find out that Dee Eskridge was handed a 6-game suspension for violating the league's personal conduct policy. We've heard that Dee Eskridge has looked really good when it comes to OTAs and training camp, that this is the best he's ever felt since joining the Seattle Seahawks. But you're handed a 6-game suspension. You're fighting for your life to stay on the roster. You can't have this stuff happen. Not to mention, we're talking about the police being involved and arrest back in February. None of that is good as far as I'm concerned. So Dee Eskridge, you've had your troubles of even just staying on the football field and being productive. Now you got this going on. I don't know why the Seahawks should keep around Dee Eskridge as far as I'm concerned. If he can't be productive on the field and he's going to be causing issues off the field, it's just ridiculous. So now the question becomes, with all this, should the Seahawks even keep Dee Eskridge? Weigh in, tell us what you think in the comments section. C for cut, K for keep. If Seattle should hang on to Dee Eskridge or not, weigh in, tell us what you think in the comments section below. Folks, a reminder, we are going to be live for the Seahawks-Vikings matchup on Thursday night, as we'll be doing all sorts of crazy stuff here on the channel. If you've never been a part of our Seahawks watch parties, prepare to be entertained, folks. We'll have a few drinks on hand. We'll do some super chat contests, all sorts of stuff that you are in for a treat, folks. Come on in. and party with us here on Seahawks Today, because there's no party like a Seahawks party. Am I right? Join us. You will not want to miss it. We'll go live about an hour before kickoff. Seahawks Vikings live right here on Seahawks Today. You will not want to miss it. Subscribe for free so you can join us for that watch party on Thursday night. You will not want to miss it. Last on the losers list is Kenneth Walker. Now, no one is questioning Kenneth Walker's talent or playing ability. We all know that he had a fantastic rookie season in 2022, but he's injured right now with the groin pull, and that just adds to the list of injuries that he's dealt with since coming to the Seattle Seahawks last year. Remember, he missed most of the preseason last year with a sports hernia, had the ankle sprain back in September, and now this groin pull. I'm very concerned when it comes to Kenneth Walker of his ability to stay on the football field. You've already had these injuries now. That's not ideal, okay? I mean, Kenneth Walker, no one questions the talent. We know he can play. But is he going to be available? And we've talked about injuries with Seahawks running backs for a long time, and it's starting to add up right now, too. I'm concerned with Kenneth Walker. He'll come back soon from this. That's not an issue, but what else could potentially happen? Is he injury-prone? I hope not. Name a loser from Seahawks Training Camp. We've given a few. Now it's your chance to weigh in. Tell us in the comments section a loser from Seahawks camp who comes to mind, and let us know what you think. For this game against the Minnesota Vikings, two things in particular to watch for. Seahawks got to stay healthy. Don't overwork the starters, whatever you do. Pete, there's certain guys that we know are among the best of the best, right, that don't need significant playing time, that it's not worth the risk. Get them a few snaps here and there, but no need to overwork some of these guys. Geno Smith, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, you get the idea. Crucial playing time for some young players to prove themselves. We mentioned Boye Mafe, how well he's played. Now you get this stage, right, where everybody's watching to see if he can earn that starting role. We mentioned the rookies competing for playing time. I know he's a veteran now, but I think that Drew Lock still has a huge chance to prove that he can be trusted to be the number 2 quarterback. So that's what I'm watching for. We'll see what happens. What's your expectations for this Seahawks-Vikings game? Give me an expectation, something that comes to mind that you are watching for this matchup. Don't miss out. We'll be live on the channel Thursday night. Seahawks and Vikings live right here on Seahawks Today. Until then, I'm Tyler Jones. Have a great day. We will see you right back here on Seahawks Today.